Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from Velocity 2014 in New York City. I'm here with Ashish. Ashish, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Good. So you're with HP.
I'm definitely with HP Software in particular.
And HP Software in particular, what do they do? Are they a large group, small group, big division?
HP Software is actually a pretty large group. By itself, it would be the 5th or 6th largest software corporation in the world.
Just by itself?
Just by itself, if we were standalone. They are about $4 to $5 billion in annual revenues.
So HP is a very, very large company, and you probably see internally some of the issues that are surrounding DevOps and the disconnect between developers and operations, but you also likely see it with your partners and customers and people you work with. So can you talk a little bit about why there is a disconnect still?
You mean in terms of DevOps, particularly?
How people, operations.
So look, in the marketplace, if you look around, software applications have truly become the life and blood of any company's revenue today. Think about the way you buy tickets for your airlines, you do your banking, or you do your shopping. And these are the new revenues of channels for every company, and so also for HP. And things are at a very fast pace right now. You cannot wait for your competition to get ahead of you and do things that are innovative and produce new things in the market. And so every company, including HP, wants to be very agile, wants to be able to introduce quick new features, innovation in the marketplace on a continuing, ongoing basis. Typically, large enterprises are structured to release software applications every 6 months, 3 months, or every year. And in today's world, this doesn't cut it anymore. So people are moving more and more about releasing quality software very frequently at a very high quality. And DevOps is certainly a way that everyone's adopting to try to deliver software.
Continuous deployment, continuous delivery.
Continuous delivery of software, working quality software.
But so is there a cultural change that has to happen too? Because just to all of a sudden go from a big software hardware company to a lean, mean machine using DevOps, is that an easy thing to do? So,
I always say DevOps is really a vision, right? For any company, whether they're small or they're big, it's really a vision. For smaller companies who are starting from scratch, they can implement the vision right away. For larger companies, enterprise companies, they have things that are rigidly in place, and teams and silos and cultures that often need to be changed and changed for the better so that they can all work together, the development teams, the operations teams, the testing teams, to realize this vision. It's a vision and it's a journey, and it's a maturity curve that they need to go through before they can truly achieve DevOps.
So how does a large organization, let's just use HP for example, right. How does one get started on that journey? I mean, would you spin off a little group?
It's a very good question. So, a lot of the customers I speak with are adopting different methodologies to try to implement DevOps. But there are a couple of different ways you can go about this. One is to really start on the development side of the house. With the adoption of Agile that's truly in place, development teams are producing software much more quickly and turning around their cycles. They're paid to do that. On the operations side, they're paid to keep stability and resist frequent changes, because any instability in the environments that are customer facing can lead to disasters. So they resist this fast pace of change. But if they work together with the dev teams, because dev teams really understand the applications, the complexity behind it, the deployments behind it, and they start to understand this from the development side, and they move it as a package, infrastructure as a code, monitoring as a code, development as a code, and move through testing, iterate, learn better, so that by the time they get to production, it's the golden deployment, it's the golden release to the customer. It's been iterated many times, practiced many times, and so really that final deployment is, a no-brainer.
But so the iterations and the tools and the frameworks and all that stuff, those aren't the important things as the ability to teams to work together? Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. I think cultural change is the biggest challenge that most companies have today, right? Because like I just said, dev and ops are completely incentivized to do different things.
And when you say culture, you don't mean we have a group of Chinese.
No, absolutely not. Functionally, culturally, right? Because often you will see in DevOps stories that
the mentality of the developer
is like a hare or a rabbit, to move really fast.
Exactly.
Of ops is, of moving like a turtle or a tortoise. This is stereotypical, too much, but it is the case where they're paid differently, they're incentivized differently to take care of different things. So you need to bring them together, break up the chunks of work into smaller, manageable pieces.
So
push this through.
Is there a culture clash when you bring them together? I mean, because to me it sounds like you bring two different groups that have different incentives and goals.
Absolutely.
You remove all those incentive and goals, and
absolutely. So a lot of companies, what they're doing is they're starting by even co-locating these two teams. Getting them involved right at the planning phase of what needs to get out to the customers. But really, what really works is you need to divide this up into really small chunks and push this through all the way in the process. Learn from it, iterate, and start pushing more and more bigger chunks. Just do it. Okay. Iterate, learn, and improve continuously.
So let me ask you that, on a company the size of HP,
right?
How do you do that on such a massive, large scale? Or is it you're spinning off a small group?
Actually, you don't do it by starting off on a massive scale, right? So you can imagine HP software, for example, or HP IT. We have multiple millions of customers and products, thousands of products that we release. Not all the groups have taken this approach right away. We have started with smaller groups. We are implementing, these DevOps processes and learning and, kind of sharing these best practices across. It's very important for the teams to come together, not just one team releasing one piece of software, but cross-pollinating and learning from each other. And you have to establish some common ground. You have to establish some common framework. I always say tools are the least important thing, but there are places you can start.
Right, so tools, speaking of tools, do you monitor the success of these teams that you're doing
absolutely,
this with?
Absolutely.
And are they more productive in general?
Absolutely. So, one of the most important things is, as I said, iterate and learn from it, is to measure, and measure again, and define some metrics that make sense. Right? Whether it's the release cycle time for each piece of software functionality to go out, and how do you reduce that? Whether it's the number of defects that are showing up towards the end of the release. So there are a number of metrics that you define. There can be only 4. You start with 3 or 4, you improve on them, and then you can add more metrics. It's really important. That's what a lot of our customers are doing. That's how HP is helping them, and we're doing it internally as well.
Yeah, we have a saying: if you can't measure it, you can't change it.
Absolutely.
And that sounds like it's a core piece there.
Absolutely.
You have to measure what you want to potentially change.
And you need a buy-in from both the teams on what are you measuring and how is it beneficial to both of their objectives.
So are your customers then also receptive to this sort of new culture, new style of working with you guys?
Absolutely. In fact, it's a very interesting question because HP offers a number of different software offerings and products on the application space, testing space, and the operations and monitoring space, and they're all working with us to do things that are DevOps related. Now, one of the things that they're realizing is there's an entire tool chain they can use with HP. But HP as a vendor also realizes that customers are using open source and third-party tools. It's unrealistic for us to expect that we will, ask everybody to rip and replace the entire tool chain. So we're looking into the marketplace, we're adopting and working with third-party tools. So it doesn't matter if you use HP tools or you don't use HP tools, it's about how you bring about the change. So we even have a professional services organization that goes and does assessment maturities, workshops, lays out quick reference tools and architectures, blueprints, and customers then choose and adopt. It's like a menu that they work from.
Excellent. Ashish, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on your DevOps journey and all your partners going along with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.